you're connected not only with the Trades Hall Council but with the Fair Rates Committee. What's the reaction from that committee?
Well, the committee believes that they must step up the action and mobilise resentment from the people that are there, and on Saturday morning and Sunday, all day Sunday, there'll be a conference dealing with this very question of the whole rating system. And as it was agreed last year by everyone, including aldermen, that the rating system was out of all proportion and actually ridiculous, that there was a new system required. And we've set about to have specialists to examine and to present to the people alternatives. And we believe that the council and other local government bodies should get behind the people's organisations to demand from the government, the state government, an entirely new rating system.
Well, now it has been suggested, was suggested last night, that if the works program is paired sufficiently to keep the rate back to what it was for 71, there could be reductions of staff of 1 in 7. Now, how do you feel about this? This is important.
Well, this should intensify the endeavours of the city leaders to press the government. Even if the government has got to be brought down, they should be forced to make available sufficient finances to carry out the business of local government. And I think this is the issue that the local aldermen must face up to.
The Union of Australian Women's in the news often enough, but it's usually on domestic matters. Tonight our guest is the national president of that union, Mrs. Frida Brown, who's recently returned from Bangladesh. Tell me, are things over there as bad as our news reports would make out?
Well, of course, when I was there, literally millions of people were flocking out of what was then East Pakistan and has now become known and recognised as Bangladesh, into India, into the refugee camps. This was following the attack on the East by the West, because in fact East Pakistan, was ridiculous to call it a country. East Pakistan is separated by over 1,000 miles from West Pakistan. They had no common language, no common history, and they were literally used as a colony. The goods that were the wealth of the country went into the West, and then it was sent back.
Well, why did you go there anyway?
Well, I was asked to go there by the international organisation to which my organisation belongs, the Women's International Democratic Federation, and to investigate the situation and report to them. And that's precisely what I did. I went to the refugee camps, I went over to the border into the liberated areas where the Mukti Bahini were fighting, and then I made a report which I took to the world body.
Well, having seen this and seen the millions of refugees and thousands of them dying, what good was the aid which Australia and other countries sent in? Was it a drop in the bucket?
Well, no, I wouldn't say it was a drop in the bucket, but it certainly didn't fill the bucket, let's put it that way. The great burden was borne by India, and I don't think any other country could have done what India did, and I think it's a great credit to them. Some people said, why did that people go into India? Well, where else could have they gone? Look at the map. You only went to India or you went into the sea.
It wasn't then just chaos. Something was done for them.
No, far from it. In fact, I was most impressed with the way it was organised. As they crossed the border, and I saw them crossing in their hundreds of thousands, they were given an injection for cholera and smallpox. They were issued with a health certificate, and then that was used as a certificate for them to get rations. Very small rations, about a few cents a week, but at least they were given the rice, and this did, in most cases, prevent starvation.
And how was it as rations compared with what they were used to?
Well, you couldn't...
Small by our standards. Sure.
No, well, you couldn't compare it because some of the people who came across were doctors, had some standing in their own country. Others were people who were very poor. Well, of course, they were all on the same rations once they came across.
And how did Australia's image emerge from all this?
Well, it wasn't so much of how our image emerged. What they wanted was recognition and assistance. And at the time I spoke to them because it was pouring rain and quite cold, and many people were next to naked. And so I said that the main thing we could do was supply blankets, and I suggested that Air India might be willing to take them over free, and we raised the slogan, in fact, $2 would buy a blanket and may help save a life. And as a result, I do think that we did give some assistance. That was only small, but at least it was of moral assistance. And in such a situation, to know you're getting moral assistance is awfully important.
Well, they're beginning to go home again now to Bangladesh, now that the country's settling down a bit. What future have they got? They're going back to a devastated country that, if it's rich, it's only potentially rich. There's not much to go home to.
Of course, this is the problem throughout the world today. Go to the African countries, it's the same problem. They are ex-colonial countries. Many people, the majority of the people are illiterate, and the resources of the country haven't been developed, and so it is a real problem. Now the people have got to get down, they've got to work out their own administration of the country and develop their own resources.
Well, there's a lot of people in Bangladesh. Do you think
right.
they can do it?
Well, I think I'm sort of a positive person, and I believe people can do it. If they've got democracy, if they know what they're fighting for, I think they'll win through. It'll be awfully difficult, but I think they'll become a viable nation.
Well, that's an optimistic note to finish on, and there we'll leave it. Now, thanks to Mrs. Frida Brown, the National President of the Union of Australian Women, recently home from Bangladesh.
We have no knowledge as yet of how it's going to go, but if we judge by other centres, other cities, the certificate is accepted quite warmly by the patrons.
Well, what was its reception into Newcastle today like?
Quite warm.
Well, do you think movies labelled as R certificate films will attract an undesirable element?
No, this has not been the experience.
Well, do you expect any trouble policing the regulation about no under 18-year-olds being allowed?
We haven't had any problem today, and I don't expect any problem because we have to police it, that people under 18 will not be admitted to the theatre because there's a fine, and we certainly do not want to attract the underage to an R certificate film.
Well, how do you police this regulation?
Well, we have to use our own judgment. If a person looks under 18, we can refuse him entry unless he proves to us, birth certificate or otherwise, that he is in actual fact over 18 or 18.
Yes, very much so indeed. We've found throughout our work in the Australian shipyards that the standards are high, very high. We've never had anything to complain about in that respect whatsoever.
The ABS, however, is a newcomer to the Australian scene, or comparatively so.
Comparatively new, yes.
Are you sort of competing for business out here, or is it not a competitive business?
It's not really a competitive business at all. We like to think that we give our clients top-notch service, and I know the other societies feel the same way.
Well, one of your sorry.
I was going to say the fact that there are several societies in the world is a great benefit to the shipbuilding and ship-owning industry as a whole. I strongly feel that if there was only one large society, like any other monopoly, it would become slipshod, and ship owners and shipbuilding throughout the world would suffer.
Well, is it the novelty of the occasion that brings you out here, since you have a client about to build a ship in this dockyard?
Partially that, but also it's a policy that I try to visit each of our offices around the world within a reasonably short period of time.